With practice exercise 12.6 writeSquares, we want to write a method called writeSquares. So we'll say public writeSquares. It's going to accept an integer n as its parameter, and it's going to print the first n squares separated by commas, with our odd squares in descending order, followed by the even squares in ascending order. So given this example, since we're just printing, not returning anything, it's going to be type void. Now let's go inside of here. We're going to start this off with this bottom part right here. It wants us to throw an illegal argument exception if our n is less than 1. So we'll throw a new illegal argument exception just like that. Otherwise, we're going to want to do some cases, and there's going to be 3 cases that we want to handle. We want to handle our base case, odd case, and even case. For the odd and even case, it's going to have our recursion. For our base case, it's just going to be printing and finishing our basically method. So we have else if our n is equal to 1, because looking at our example, it seems like 1 is where it stops before it either stops completely or starts recursively printing out our evens. So we'll do a system.out.print where we just print 1. That's it. Otherwise, we could handle odd or even first. I am personally going to handle the odd first. So n modulus 2 is equal or is not equal to 0. If it's not equal to 0, that means it has no remainder. Or wait, if it does, okay, so n modulus 2 not equal to 0 means that it has a remainder, and since it has a remainder, then it's odd. So if it's like 25, we would have 1 as a remainder, so we know it's odd, so we're going to be inside of here. So what do we do? Well, we want to print before we go to the next thing, right? So let's do a system.out.print, and we're going to print out our n times n. And then we're going to follow that up with a comma. So comma here, just like that, and this line. And now we want to hit our recursion. So we'll have writeSquares, where we're going to pass in n minus 1, that way we can decrement and look at the next one. So if we have 5 passed in, right, and then we go to 4, we obviously need an even case. You can do an else if, but I'm just going to do an else because that's going to catch everything else. Now, in our else, if we print out like 25 here, and then we pass in a 4 when we hit our recursion, and we go down here, we don't want to print our 4 yet. So what we're going to have happen is we're going to print this recursion first. So it goes to 3, and then we go here. But we do eventually have to print our odds. So what we're going to do, or I'm sorry, print our evens, we're going to have our evens be printed down here. And I'm actually going to change this comma to be in front just for how everything is laid out. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully that makes sense. Recursion is always a little bit iffy. If you do have any questions, as always, you can leave them in the comments below. We have each of our cases clearly laid out, so hopefully that helps. And now we're just running the 7 out of 7 tests, passing them all, of course, and that's how we would do exercise 12.6 writeSquares.